Hey, it's great to see everybody again. I hope you're enjoying the 7 C's of Leadership and our Leadership Skills course as much as I am. Today we're going to dig deep into Chapter 3, which is character, and how we prepare our character on the inside. Let me start out with some truth, okay, that we can find in Galatians 2:20. My old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. So I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself to me. It is no longer I who live. That's amazing. You know, character is one of the things that I looked for in the players that I would recruit. I looked, obviously, the players had to have talent. And God's given all of us different degrees of talent, but they had to have talent. But many times players with talent don't help you win because they're missing other things like character. One of my mentors, Red Auerbach, the architect of Boston Celtics basketball, the man who I studied, the man who I tried to emulate, the man who became one of my dear friends and mentors in life. At a meeting with Red one day, we were talking about how to build a championship team, how to build a team of leaders, or how to have a team that's really, really capable of leading themselves and each other onto victory. And Red said something to me I'll never forget. He said, Mike, he said, recruit character, not characters. And you know, when you think about that, and I think about it a lot of times, and I think about my best teams. Those were the teams that not only had really good talent, but more importantly, they had great character. So recruit character, not characters. And when people are looking at you as a potential employer of theirs, or maybe a co-owner of the company or what have you, they want to know what your character's like. As we talk about character, let me share character watchwords with you. You can find this in the book. You can Google it. Character watchwords goes like this. Watch your thoughts, because everything starts from the neck up. It starts in the head. Watch your thoughts. Why? Because your thoughts become words. Watch your words, because your words become actions. Watch your actions, because your actions become habits. Watch your habits, because your habits become your character. And ultimately, your character becomes your legacy. It becomes what people will remember you by. Now let's go back to the thoughts process. It's very important that if you're going to be a really great character, you have to put good things into your mind. When you're driving in your car, are you listening to hip hop? Nothing wrong with hip hop. Are you listening to jazz? Or maybe are you listening to a good Christian radio station? Down here in South Florida, we got Moody, 89.3. That's always on in my car. Okay, so I know that when I listen to Moody, I'm taking in a lot of really good things. So therefore, what I'm going to spit out, say, are a result of what I've thought. So I want to put good thoughts in my head. I want to not only think good things, I want to pray on a regular basis. I want to have a conversation with God if I can each and every day. Maybe the first thing in the morning when I wake up, or the last thing at night before I go to bed. And I know when I was a little kid growing up, I'd see my mom on her hands and knees praying to God, asking God to give her the strength, and that it helped to instill in her the confidence that she needed and the courage she needed and the character that she had to have. The 7 C's on character are as follows. I want to go over those with you because, like I said, this is important stuff. It all is. 1, study the Word. Immerse yourself in the truth. You can't have true character until you change your thoughts, because your thoughts will become your words. Psalm 119:11 says, I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Number 2, spend time in prayer. Ask God for help and listen for his answers. 3, get dressed up. And what does that mean? It means, you know what, you got to put on the armor, the equipment that God gave you to be a man of character, to be able to withstand all the adversity. You're going to read Ephesians 6:10 through 18 about how all the different armor that God has equipped you with can be used. 4, make self-evaluations that are honest. Make honest self-evaluations. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. 5, my Little League Baseball coach, Stretch, used to tell me this all the time. When things are going well, remember what you are doing to do well. Don't get amnesia. Don't forget why you were good, and don't forget where you came from. You always want to give back, not only to yourself, but to other people. 6, make calculated choices. This really means you must surround yourself with people that have good character. Like Red said, recruit character. And in Daniel's story, we see this, and you'll be reading about this in this chapter. You must get rid of the negativity around you. And I remember once Mr. DeVos, who owned Amway, owned the Orlando Magic, once said, you know, one of the things he had to learn was he had to learn sometime the necessity to fire people, to get rid of people that really weren't producing and that really weren't getting the job done or didn't buy in. And then the 7th and last key is you got to submit to the Spirit. When we accept Christ and when Jesus ascended to heaven, he left behind the Holy Spirit that comes and lives within us. So we've got to submit to the Spirit. Speaking of the Spirit, becoming a leader with godly character ultimately comes down to listening to that still, small voice as it leads you down a path of righteousness and away from those things that can bring you down. So you've got to listen to the Spirit that's inside of you. And follow through. How do we put our character into practice? Well, as we said before, you know, we've got to know where our character comes from, and we can find, okay, all the stories and examples we need in the Bible. My pastor, David Nicholas, the man who brought me to Christ, once said to me, he said, Mike, 15 minutes a day, you spend 15 minutes a day reading the Bible, you can read the entire Bible from the Old, and then including the Old and New Testament in 1 year. 15 minutes a day, just think about that. What a small investment. Another follow-through item I want to give you is this. Think about that historical person. I mentioned some of the people in my life. Who was that person that had the character that maybe you would like to have someday? Write that person's name down, do a little research, maybe write a little short story about that person. Could be somebody in your family, like could be your mom or your dad. And the closing prayer for today's lesson on character is, Lord, I want to be filled with your character. Stir my heart every day to study your word. Spend time in prayer and put on the full armor of God. Surround me with believers who will help me make choices And most importantly, let your Spirit, your Holy Spirit, guide me every step of the way. And you know what? It's not about me. It's all about you. So allow me, please give me the confidence, the courage, and the character that I need to be able to dedicate everything I do for you, because it's all about you. See you next week.